The pursuit of happiness. If you are chasing happiness, one thing is certain: you will never catch it. Happiness is always a byproduct, never the result of direct pursuit. The fundamental duality. The most important of all questions is this: what is true happiness? And is it even possible to attain? Can genuine happiness exist, or is it all fleeting? Is life merely a dream, or does it hold something essential beyond its surface? Does life begin with birth and end with death, or is there something transcendent that lies beyond? For without the eternal, true happiness cannot exist. With only the temporary, happiness remains an illusion. Here one moment, gone the next, leaving you in despair and darkness. In the ordinary life, the life of the unawakened, this is how it is. Moments of bliss come and go, interspersed with moments of suffering. You cannot hold on to the fleeting moments of happiness. They come of their own accord and disappear just as unpredictably. Nor can you avoid the moments of suffering. They too come with their own persistence. You are not the master. You are caught between these two poles, happiness and unhappiness, torn apart by the dualities of existence. True rest is impossible. This tension exists in every form of duality. The duality of happiness and unhappiness is the most fundamental and symptomatic, but there are countless others: love and hate, life and death, day and night, summer and winter, youth and old age, and so on. But the root duality, the one that underpins them all, is that of happiness and unhappiness. Caught in this polarity, you are forever uncomfortable, perpetually uneasy. To the awakened ones, humanity itself is a sickness. The question is this condition absolute and eternal, or can it be transcended? Thus the fundamental question is, what is true happiness? Certainly, the happiness we know is not real. It is a dream, always transforming into its opposite. What seems like happiness in one moment becomes sorrow in the next. The fact that happiness turns into unhappiness reveals that these two are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin. If you have one side, the other is always present, lurking just behind, waiting for its turn. When you are happy, somewhere deep within you is the fear that it will not last, that soon it will pass, that darkness will descend, that this light is but an illusion. It cannot carry you to the other shore. Your happiness is not true happiness, but merely concealed unhappiness. Your love is not true love, but a mask for hate. Your compassion is not genuine. It is merely refined anger, polished and civilized, given an acceptable form. Even your sensitivity is not authentic. It is a mental exercise, an attitude, a cultivated approach. Remember this: humanity has been conditioned to believe that virtues can be practiced, that goodness can be cultivated, that one can learn to be happy, that it is within your power to create a personality that brings happiness. This is entirely false. The first thing to understand about happiness is that it cannot be practiced. It must simply be allowed, for it is not something you can create. Anything you create will always be smaller than you, a product of your limited self. A painting cannot be greater than the painter. A poem cannot surpass the poet. Whatever you create will inevitably bear the mark of your own limitations. If you try to practice happiness, you will always be there behind it, with all your ignorance, your ego, your inner chaos. With a chaotic mind, how can you create harmony? How can you bring forth grace? Grace descends from beyond. It must be received as a gift in infinite trust and complete surrender. In this state of letting go, true happiness arises, but we are taught to achieve, to strive, to be ambitious. Our minds are shaped to be those of achievers. Education, culture, religion, all are rooted in the idea that ambition is essential, that only the ambitious can find fulfillment. And yet, no ambitious person has ever been happy. In fact, the ambitious are the most miserable. We train children to be ambitious. Be first, be the best, and you will be happy. But have you ever seen anyone at the top who is truly happy? Alexander the Great conquered the world, but was among the most wretched of men. Observing the bliss of Diogenes, a beggar, he felt envy. Imagine envying a beggar. Diogenes owned nothing, not even a begging bowl. One day he went to the river to drink and saw a dog lapping water directly from the stream. Inspired, he discarded his bowl, realizing that even it was an unnecessary burden. This man, who had nothing, stirred envy in Alexander's heart. Alexander confessed, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Diogenes laughed, calling his dog over and said, "Did you hear that nonsense? He wants to be me, but in the next life. Why not now? Why delay? The next life is uncertain. Even the next moment is uncertain. If you truly wish to be like me, you can be, right here and now. Abandon your conquest, discard your garments, and rest beside me on this riverbank." Alexander could not accept the invitation. "Thank you," he replied, "but not now. Perhaps in the next life." Diogenes asked, "And what will you do after conquering the world?" Alexander replied, "Then I will rest." Diogenes laughed again. "How absurd! I am resting now. Why wait?" Observe the so-called successful people of the world, and you will see that nothing fails like success. Despite being told that nothing succeeds like success, the truth is the opposite. Success does not bring happiness. It brings only more striving, more discontent. Happiness has nothing to do with success, ambition, money, power, or fame. It belongs to an entirely different dimension. Happiness is a state of being, not of doing. It is not about cultivating a personality, but awakening to your essence. True happiness is a byproduct of a deeper alignment with life, a surrender to what is, rather than a relentless pursuit of what is not. It is only when you stop chasing and start being that happiness will arise, not as something achieved, but as something revealed. It is already here, waiting for you to notice. In the stillness of surrender, the duality of happiness and unhappiness dissolves, and you find yourself resting in the eternal now. Consciousness, not character. I do not believe in character. My trust lies in consciousness. When a person becomes more conscious, their character transforms naturally. But this transformation is entirely different. It is not managed by the mind. It is natural, spontaneous. And whenever your character is natural and spontaneous, it carries its own unique beauty. Otherwise, you may keep trying to change. But where will you throw your anger? You might suppress it into the unconscious, but it will find another outlet. Whatever you push down will find its way to express itself in another form. This is inevitable. You can block a stream with a rock, but the water will simply flow from somewhere else. You cannot destroy it. Anger exists because you are unconscious. Greed exists because you are unconscious. Possessiveness and jealousy are there because you are unconscious. So, I am not concerned with changing your anger. That would be like trimming the leaves of a tree and expecting the tree to vanish one day. It won't. On the contrary, the more you trim, the denser the foliage becomes. This is why your so-called saints are often the least holy people in the world, pretenders, fakes. From the outside, they appear pious, excessively sweet, almost sickeningly so. But spend any significant time with them, and you will see. From one side, they have suppressed their anger, but it emerges from another part of their lives. Ordinary people are occasionally angry, but their anger is fleeting, temporary. Soon they laugh again, becoming friendly once more. They do not carry the wound for long. But your so-called saints, having repressed their anger so deeply, live in a constant state of rage. It is no longer directed at anything in particular. They are simply angry, seething beneath the surface. Their eyes, their faces, their very way of being reveal it. True transformation does not lie in changing your character, but in expanding your consciousness. When you are conscious, truly aware, anger becomes impossible. Greed becomes impossible. Jealousy and ambition dissolve. And when anger, greed, jealousy, ambition and desire vanish, the energy that fueled them is released. That energy becomes your bliss. This bliss does not come from outside. It arises from the innermost core of your being. When this energy becomes available, you become a field of sensitivity, a magnetic presence. You draw the beyond toward you. When you no longer waste your energy on unconscious pursuits, it collects within, forming a reservoir. This reservoir begins to attract the stars, the infinite, the divine. The meeting of your consciousness with the beyond is the space of bliss, pure happiness. It knows nothing of suffering, it is pure joy. It knows nothing of death, it is pure life. It knows no darkness, it is pure light. To know this is the ultimate purpose. The Buddha sought this, and one day, after 6 years of searching, he attained it. You too can attain it. But let me remind you, by saying you can attain it, I am not encouraging you to chase after it. I am merely stating a fact. When you become a vast reservoir of energy, undistracted by worldly pursuits, it happens. It is not something you do. It is something that occurs. And it is better to call it bliss rather than happiness. For the word happiness carries associations with the relative and the fleeting. What you call happiness is always relative. What the awakened ones call bliss is absolute. Your happiness depends on comparison. It exists in contrast to others. Bliss, however, is self-sufficient. It arises from within and is utterly independent of external conditions. True transformation is not a matter of changing your behavior or adopting a new set of rules. It is a shift from unconsciousness to awareness. When you are conscious, you don't have to suppress or manage your emotions. They simply lose their grip. The energy that once fed them transforms into a profound inner joy, a joy that is not borrowed or dependent, but innate and boundless. This is the joy that the sages speak of, the joy that arises not from character but from the awakening of consciousness. It is the joy of being, not of becoming.